Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to E-Schoolhouse. This is our weekly series, Inspirations from the House. And I'm super excited today. It's a continuation of what we talked about last week. We talked about screen time. If you didn't have the opportunity to hear that session, I put a link above. Go click it and listen to that first, because today is a continuation of that session. So let me introduce myself. My name is Deborah Kalinikos. I'm an engineer turned educator, and now my goal is to engineer a change in education, one family at a time. We bring you weekly series, videos, and ideas of things that you can do to help inspire your child to get the absolute most out of her education. And today I've got a very special guest. Let me start with what we did last week. Okay. We talked about screen time and the difference between active and passive screen time. I know so many parents are really worried about all the virtual learning that's going on. And oh my gosh, there's so much screen time for my kids. Today, we're going to talk to somebody who has been virtually teaching for a while. And so we're just going to ask her a bunch of questions, and she's going to bring you information that I know will be of such value to you. So let me introduce to you Nikki Ippolito. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's first start with you telling everybody, who you are and what's your background.
Sure. So I am a teacher. I have been teaching since 2001. I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I actually moved to Costa Rica 2 years ago with my husband, who's also an educator, and our 12-year-old son. And we are now learning virtually here in Costa Rica.
Nice. Okay, so how do you use virtual teaching with your students?
Well, this was pretty new to everyone. And so mid-March, when we found out that, the coronavirus was here, we had to leave our bricks and mortar school. And so it was kind of, okay, how are we going to do this? So a lot of districts just said, let's use Zoom or a platform where we can be live with the students and actually kind of try to mimic as best we could what we were doing in the building on a computer, which is not so easy because you can't stop what you've done on, in person with these students on a computer. So we are all just doing the best we can, going day by day with it.
Wow. Yeah, I was talking to some teachers in my area who said the same thing. It's like, well, we just do what we do, day by day, but they couldn't. And one teacher in particular was saying it was a real scramble, back when all this started. But now that everybody's had more time,
yes.
you guys are doing an amazing job of figuring it out, I gotta say. So let me ask you, so what were some of the biggest challenges for you personally? Having to go from your brick and mortar in person to this virtual?
I think one of the main challenges for me anyway, especially I'm teaching preschool through second grade. And so I feel like that proximity effect. I am not with those children. I am not in that room. So I am now competing with, I'm a box on a screen. Right. And so, just to keep their attention, you really have to be more animated than you've ever been. You have to change up the routine. They say, especially students that young, every 10 minutes, maybe change the activity. So you've now got to do that online, and you've got to figure out, what am I going to do? So a lot of times I'll bring out my puppets or my, anything I can do to keep them, but a lot of video time, a lot of get up and move time. I think in the beginning I forgot, these kids need those brain breaks. Like we see, they have 10 minutes in between classes, so you just assume they're probably getting up and moving in between classes. Well, what if they're not? We don't know what they're doing. We're not in their home. So I'm realizing they need to get up. They need to move. We need to do our little dances and our stretches and all those things that we did in the classroom because they get antsy. We still need to continue to do that online.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. You said one thing that just made me think. So you teach preschoolers through second grade. So many of those children can't read yet.
Yes.
So how do you handle that?
Yes, it's true. So it's tough because you want to give them that opportunity. So I'm trying to do read alouds, or sometimes I'll do a virtual read aloud where it's like an interactive read aloud that I've maybe found on YouTube, or I've found on Scholastic or something, a website that's made for kids, just to keep their attention, because again, you're not in the room with them. And it's a lot different when you're holding a book like this, right? And you're seeing me on a screen. And another thing my husband and I were talking about earlier, one of the challenges is also we have a lot of students using their phone as on Zoom. So, we can't just assume that every family has, if there's 3 kids, we can't assume they all have their own device. And then if mom and dad are in meetings and they're using their device. So a lot of my students are on their phones. So not only am I competing, just that I'm on a screen, but I'm a little box on a screen. So that's another challenge is, you've got to be as animated and as, exciting. You've got to make those lessons as exciting as possible, because they're just looking at you through, even an iPad is so small, right? I mean, here I have this big Mac monitor. So to me, it's, much more lively, but not all my students have that.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there are districts, at least where I live. I called a few of them as I was researching all of this. I don't have kids in school anymore, but they don't know that. So I called and said, if we move into your district and we're doing the virtual learning, what do we get? And the districts around me all said the first thing they do is assign a computer.
Yes.
But that's not the reality for a lot of families.
No. And I know, like I may have said, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I'm still on a lot of those emails from some of those districts. And they had days and times where parents could pick up, a Chromebook or whatever they needed in case they didn't have it. But then the other issue is that some parents don't have the bandwidth, the internet, because if mom's online and dad's online, I mean, we saw it here with our son. I have my son online, virtual learning, my husband who's teaching, and I'm teaching. So we had to up our internet because it was, the kids are saying, teacher, you're lagging, or teacher, you're freezing. So I'm on the, and it happened where I would have students who would just drop off. They would just drop off the call, and it's because their internet was lagging. And so it would just cut them off. So there's all these things that would not happen in a classroom that we're contending with. So yes, some districts will give that Chromebook, or even there's the school that I'm working for now. They're actually helping parents with the internet issues if they're having internet issues, because my district just feels this is something, these kids need this, and whatever we can do. My school was even giving parents routers, so that the internet. So. We're trying the best we can, but again, there could be that inequity depending on the student's background.
And I think I'm so glad you brought that up, Nikki, because I think it's important for all families to know, even if you are not a family experiencing that. You got plenty of technology, plenty of computers. I'm married to an IT guy. Okay.
Right.
So it's never a problem for us, but you just assume that everybody has the same. I'm so glad you bring that up. And I would suggest, I know I've got a couple of old computers that I called my church, and I said, do you know any families who are trying to get online, that I can give these to?
Yeah, exactly.
So anybody out there, if you've got extra stuff, consider donating it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk some more about when you are virtually teaching and you got your pom-pom and your puppets and all of that kind of stuff. When you notice that children aren't paying attention, how do you handle that?
It's tough because a lot of districts, I obviously have a lot of teacher friends being in different districts and in the States, and every district has their own set of rules. And so some districts will say if the child is, and everyone's using Zoom and Google Classroom, it seems. So let's say the child turns off their screen, or they never had their screen on, and they turn off their microphone because maybe mom's vacuuming, or a 2-year-old brother is screaming, crying. So they've turned off their speaker. They've turned off the screen. And so now we don't know, is it because mom's vacuuming or baby's crying, or is it because the child is playing something on their phone? I mean, I hate to say, but some kids you're contending with the phone, you're contending with the Nintendo Switch, you're contending with whatever else is in their room. The room is where the child is used to having fun and playing. And now most kids are delegated to their room. This is where you're going to learn now.
Right.
so, now you're changing their mindset to, but this is where I hang out and lay in my bed. And now you want me to look at this screen and not contend with my toys and everything else in the room. So, that makes it difficult. And the other, so my point was with the districts, some districts say, if the child has their screen off, we're not going to penalize them for that, because we don't know what's going on at home. We don't know. A lot of times it's an internet issue, and they know if they turn the screen off, then they're not going to have that lagging and everything else. So, it's a fine line. How does the teacher grade a child whose screen is off for maybe 2 periods of the day or the whole day? Is the child actually looking and learning, or are they not? We really don't know. So how are we holding them accountable when we don't know what's happening behind that black screen? So that makes it difficult. That makes it very difficult. But like I said, I teach young ones, and sometimes I'll see, especially in the morning, I have them at 8 in the morning, and I have one boy and I see mom trying to give him breakfast. She's trying to force feed him, and he's like this. And then I see dad move his head up like this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Hi, Lucas. And I'm trying to wake him up. But again, it's the proximity effect. I'm not there to give him a little pat on the shoulder, give him a little hug, give him a little, let's get up. So a lot of times I'll just say their name, or I can spotlight them on the video. So they're like, ooh, I'm big on the screen. I better get to what she wants me to do, because now all the kids can see me. So a lot of times I'll use that spotlight and say, what do you think, honey? And then they're like, oh, she's talking to me, and I'm big on the screen. So anything I can do to kind of make them realize, like, we see you, we see you asleep, or, playing on your tablet on the side or whatever it is. So, again, we have a lot to contend with, but we're trying the best we can.
That sounds so challenging. How can parents help you?
I think for parents, all parents, there's the helicopter mom, which I've been, so I get it. We have the helicopter parents, and then the parents who might be, like I said, in a conference call in the other room, with the door shut, and says, honey, don't talk to me. I'm busy. I have to do this. So I think that there's such a huge gap between the parent who is busy working in the other room, or maybe out in the world working, who can't be with their child all day. And then there's that parent who maybe already was a stay-at-home mom, or it can work at night, or dad. And so they might be right there. I mean, I have some parents who are literally like on screen. And so, it can be difficult both ways, because the child who's left to their own devices can do things that maybe they're not really interacting and active listening, as I call it, in the classroom. But then you also have those parents who might be a little bit too much, like, for instance, some kids I know, the teacher might say, it's okay to do invented spelling. And so we're going to spell something the way we hear it. And then some parents might say, they get on the chat, the first grade chat, why did the teacher allow the students to spell that word wrong? And that doesn't make sense. But maybe they don't realize that, when we took our education courses in college, there is something called invented spelling. And so it's not to brain block the child to think, I don't know how to spell it, so I'm just not even going to try. So we have a method to our madness. And I think now we're really we're being scrutinized, not by all, but by some parents, only because they don't realize or understand why we're doing something. And so they might see it as a negative. And so that's hard, because really we're all partners here. I'm a mom too. I get it. So I think that we all have to give each other some grace, and really understand that we're in this together and we're doing the best we can. So I think if parents could kind of see a balance, on where should I be? Should I be on top of my child and back of my child, tapping on my child, do this right, blah, blah, blah. Or should I kind of, step aside and just come in, how are you doing? How's class? And I think for me, as a parent and as a teacher, the number one thing that we all should be looking at, and I'm not saying we're overlooking it, but I feel as a majority we are, is the mental health of our children, our students.
Yeah.
That to me is a number one. And, I see it with my own son. If he's in science class online, they're talking about science. Then he flips to math class, they're talking about math. Then you're in language arts, you're talking about language arts. But when are you talking to your friends? When are you having those little social chit chats that you had in class? When the teacher says, okay, you two are in a group, you two are pairing up, those kids are chit chatting while they're doing an assignment, right?
Right,
I mean, of course they're chit chatting. Who isn't? So I think they're missing that chit chat. They're missing recess time. They're missing lunch time. They're missing passing notes in class and all those things. So to me, the social aspect is gone. It's gone in Zoom learning or online learning. It's gone. And to me, that is, and depending on what state you live in or what country you live in, some kids are not having soccer practices or things because they can't allow it. So it depends on where you are. Here, where we are, we're not having, baseball practice after school or chess club. The kids are not getting together. So if they're not going to talk, on these Zoom calls, they're not talking, they're not socializing. So to me, that is huge. And I think that mental health is really important right now because as you see, I'm a talker and kids need to talk. Who doesn't need to talk to their peers?
I love your passion. I love your passion, and you are dead on. And you brought up so many things, and I'm taking a bunch of notes. But one of the things, and I think I would like to explore this more, in subsequent broadcasts, is talking to teachers. Parents need to understand. So if you see something that you don't understand is happening with your children's education, instead of going, "Why she spelled that word wrong? Why is the teacher allowing?" Ask.
Yes.
Just ask the teacher, okay, so I'm noticing these kinds of things going on.
Right.
And then it gives the teacher an opportunity to partner with the parent.
Yes.
So, and you can say, oh, let her just be free to write. Don't even worry about it. And I mean, it's amazing how good you get at reading that phonetic spelling.
Yes. Yes.
No vowels anywhere. Okay.
Right. Yes.
But I think that's really helpful for parents to understand that there are reasons behind certain things.
Yes.
So I think that might be something that we definitely want to explore. Also, the social time. I love that you brought that up. And as adults, we know this is going to be over. Okay, this is not going to be forever.
Yes.
But when you're 8 years old,
yes,
it feels like forever.
Yes.
So I think you're right. I think that's something that we all, parents, educators, everybody, we need to help children understand. I know this is hard. I know this feels like forever, but it's not going to be forever.
Right.
know.
Yes. And even maybe a class once a week where it's just social class with the guidance counselor and just like chips and chat. Let's just have some chips and chat with our friends, because when are we chatting with our friends? When?
Are you free to do that with your students? Could you just say it's Weird Food Wednesday?
Yes. Luckily, my district is they feel that we are the professionals as teachers, and so they put that in our hands, and so they allow what might just seem like playing. These students are learning. And I also teach online for another company where I actually have a class that's just social hour, because I saw the need with my own son, and I thought, okay, I see the need. How can I fix this? And so I thought, let's fill that void.
And to any parent watching this is how teachers think. Okay. And I love this, because she just sees this need, and you fall in love with all your kids. You can't help it.
Yeah.
They're children. You can't help it. And you just want to give them what they need. And you see that, and you just did it. I mean, that just tells me how good of a person you are, Nikki, but you are personifying teachers everywhere. And this is what I want parents to understand. Teachers are so some of the most giving people out there, and will do anything for your children.
Yeah.
They love them.
Yes.
So, pardon me. Thank you so much for all of this stuff that you're sharing. Okay, so let's see. What are some of the funniest things, or maybe a funny thing that has happened during all your virtual experience?
Okay, so I put on a song, almost like a head, shoulders, knees, and toes, or if you're happy and something. I said, okay, boys and girls, we're going to get up and we're going to dance. We're going to move. Well, I don't think that dad, one of my students, the dad was behind in the kitchen, I guess, making breakfast, whatever. It was early in the morning. Uh-oh. He decides he's going to dance. He's shirtless, boxers, and he's just, and here I am, with my pom pom, and he's just dancing with me, and he has no clue that we can all see him, because he doesn't know he's in the shot, right? And I think, oh my gosh, should I say something? But he was loving it, and so I just thought, you know what, let him go. So I've seen that. I also had a little boy who asked, may I use the bathroom? I said, sure. And then he proceeds to bring the iPad with him, puts it on the top of the toilet. I said, no, Jose, no, let's turn off your screen. And then you scramble. Okay, I know I can turn his screen off, but how do I do that? Because you're in the moment. But I mean, when they're 4 and 5 years old, they just, you never know. Yeah. You never know what you're going to see. And again, the parents are inviting us into the house. How else can we do it? Right. So, but it makes for some funny stories. After class, my husband and I think, ay, but they're kids and it happens. Yeah.
You could write a book when all this is done. All these little fun things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is adorable. I definitely want to have you back some more, Nikki, because I like this idea of talking to teachers. The best way for parents and teachers to communicate, to make things just that much better for the children. So I definitely want to do that again with you. So if you have any questions for Nikki, type them in the chat below and we'll make sure that she gets them. Yeah. So Nikki, thank you again for sharing your valuable time with us. And we look forward to having you engage even more inside of E-Schoolhouse.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And thank you for hanging out with us today. And we'll see you next week on Inspirations from the House. Have a good weekend.
Bye.